Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Hey guys, we're in East LA. It's a little bit overcast, and so we might get some sprinkles, but I'm checking out a new brand. This is the MAXFOOT, and it's the MF19, which probably stands for MAXFOOT 2019. This is the high-end model, okay? We do have like a spec-down version over there with spokes, 500-watt motor. This one has a 750-watt motor and these cast alloy rims. Pretty nice. $25.99. Not super affordable at that price point, but again, you're getting a pretty high-capacity battery, 48-volt, 14 amp hours. It's got a lot of little upgrades like this USB port on the base of the display. We've got a slightly updated derailleur. This is Shimano Altus versus Shimano Tourney. Still 14 to 28 tooth cassette, so it's, you know, it's not the widest range. Then these nice fat tires, Chow Yang. No reflective stripes, no puncture protection, but this is a brand that I've seen on a lot of other value fat tire bikes, and I love that it's got an integrated Trendo by Spaninga headlight, 10 lux on that. So kind of nice, you know, the way that this points where you steer, stays out of the way, keeps the cockpit clean, because this is a folding electric bike. It's got a joint in the middle. The battery's right there in that main tube. We've even got like a tapered head tube, so you can really see this thing is kind of beefy, right? It's like a tough looking electric bike. It has pedal assist with a 12 magnet sensor down here, as well as throttle on demand. And I love that they've got a throttle on off switch right there. Okay, and you can see that it's got a big thumb shifter. This is a SIS indexed shifter from Shimano. 7 speeds, as we talked about earlier. I kind of prefer the little trigger shifters that hang down here, but then they would get blocked by this on-off switch on the throttle, and I think that's actually pretty handy, especially given that this is a folding electric bike, because sometimes you might accidentally leave the bike on, and it's easy to bump that throttle. And with a pretty high-powered motor like this, 750 watts, probably peaks around 900 watts. It's hard to say the newton meters of torque, but you really feel it. This thing is zippy, and in fact, during my ride so far, it has felt a little bit like on or off, and even in the lowest level of assist, it's kind of like, it really gets going. So it's a very satisfying electric bike, and there is a mechanical advantage because of the smaller wheel size, right? It's not having to pull such a wide diameter, and that's something I think about if you're going to actually ride this in snow and do some off-road riding. We didn't have off-road around here, so we found this parking lot that has some dirt and stuff. I'm going to do my best to give you guys the experience. I'll put the camera on the bike and you can hear that motor and you can really feel the power. I was trying to figure out what brand of motor this is, and even though this is a slightly different motor, it's not encased in like that triple spoked alloy rim over there. This one says Zofo, XOFO, but I talked to the company and they said, oh, you know, we actually have MAXFOOT motors. Like that's our thing. We're making the motor. A lot of the other parts on this bike are kind of standardized, stuff that I've seen on other products, especially in the more affordable range. We're talking about Shimano Altus, and this one you can see it actually has a derailleur guard, which is nice because you're probably going to have this bike shipped to you, especially if you get it off of a crowdfunding campaign. I heard that they're going to be launching something like that. Again, this is a brand new brand for 2019, but I think it's associated with the Ad Motor company that's been around for a little bit longer, and they're trying to hit like a value price point and maybe something a little bit more kind of fun. And you know, it's hard for me to say, but I was excited to check this out and get up close. They were doing like a photo shoot in the sand the other day, and I do want to say that anytime you're using a fat tire electric bike and you want to go in sand or snow, it's a good idea to drop the tire pressure a little bit. So these are 20 by 4 inch wide tires, great for soft terrain, whether it's loam or snow or sand. And they say max inflate to 20 PSI or 1.4 bar, but really, you know, and there's no minimum recommendation here. I'm telling you, like in my experience, you have to go all the way down to like 5 to 7 PSI. For someone like myself, I'm 135 pounds. I have ridden like on soft sand in Mexico. I did this a couple years ago in Cabo San Lucas, and it worked great. Not only for me, but also some of the heavier riders on that trip, and we all did fine just riding along on the beach, but we did have to lower the PSI quite significantly, and then you get into the territory of pinch flats, snake bites. So when the tires are really low pressure, they kind of spread out and they absorb on the soft terrain. But just keep in mind, if you come in contact with like a sharp angle on a curb or some rocks, that it could cause a pinch flat. So that's my advice on that. I love that. It looks like this is an e-bike specific KMC Z chain, probably rust resistant. You can see that the motor power cable, it comes at a hard angle right here, so it doesn't stick out too much. And I'm hoping that the final version of this would have a derailleur guard as well, because as it's being shipped to you, you want to protect that little derailleur, not get it bent out of place. And then back to the front here, this chainring does have an aluminum alloy guide, so hopefully that chain's not going to bounce off if you are in bumpy terrain. And it's going to protect your pants a little bit. I am wearing pants because it's a bit chilly today. I could still get a little bit of grease on my pants, but at least they're not going to be directly in contact with that chain as long as I'm pedaling kind of foot forward a little bit. We've got plastic folding pedals, not the fanciest thing in the world. You just kind of pull out on this. Looks like it kind of might be a little stuck from their sand riding the other day. See if this side's easier. There we go. See that? And then it folds down like this. So it's gonna save you some space if you are trying to put this in the back of an SUV or something like that. I've been in situations where you could actually fit a couple of these depending on the size of your car. So it's a decent drivetrain. Gets the job done better than a single speed, certainly. It's a rigid aluminum alloy fork, and because these are fat tires, I think it's 135 millimeter hub spacing up front with a 9 millimeter axle threaded with nuts. And then in the rear, I think this is 170 millimeters, so a little bit wider to accommodate the cassette and the wider tires. And I think this one's actually like 11 millimeters. It's threaded and it's got these little, if we can look down here, these flats, I call them. See how there's like a flat edge right there? And that acts as kind of a torque arm against the frame. But this is an aluminum alloy frame. I didn't actually see an external torque arm, which is something that I see on some of the higher end bikes. And with such a powerful motor, you know, if you're really gunning that thing, it's kind of just pushing against the frame, and over time it could potentially rock. You know, there's so much to celebrate about this bike, like the internally routed cables and everything. It's obviously e-bike specific. Great rims, great tire, everything. 60 pounds, by the way, when I was weighing this, 7.2 pounds on the battery. 60-pound bike, high power motor, but no torque arm back here. So that's something I would just, you can get it aftermarket on like eBay, something to kind of think about. You might want to have it mounted on this side. That's something that I see, like if you look at a Rad Power bike or some of these other brands that have been established, maybe been in business a little bit longer. That's something that they've zeroed in on, try to get right. I also, you can see right here, there's this little nick on the pedal from the crank arm, because when you back the bike up, we get pedal lock. It is an adjustable length kickstand, but even at its max length, it's a little bit short. I'm on an angle here. I propped it up with that piece of wood for doing the photos and stuff. And then the brakes, looks like this is Tektro 160 millimeter rotor in the rear, Tektro Aries with mechanical brake levers. These are the ones I'm used to seeing that have the rubberized edge and that really awesome bell. Although maybe it's not working because they got some sand on it and stuff. The motor inhibitors are active on both of these brakes, which is really nice, especially with such a powerful bike. And then up front, there we go, there's the 180 millimeter rotor. So you do get a little bit more stopping power from that front wheel, a bit more of a mechanical advantage. Given the 20-inch wheel diameter, even 160 is okay, right? But mechanical, they're not gonna be quite as easy to pull over time, maybe not quite as consistent. See how it doesn't, it's a little bit slower, a little bit more hand effort, because this is the rear brake that I'm pulling right now, and the cable has to go all the way back there. So mechanical versus hydraulic. For a bike that's 2,600 bucks, like you're kind of spending a lot. I was surprised. And again, this might be like an anchoring thing, marketing, where it's like, this is how much it costs, but then they sell it a little bit cheaper if they're doing crowdfunding. I'm just telling you what I've been getting. You know, and again, they do have multiple versions of this bike. So this one has mechanical disc brakes as well. They do have motor inhibitors as well, 180, 160. So there's so much that's similar here. And they do have thicker, I think these might even be 12 gauge spokes with that hub motor versus the cast setup. So this bike appeals to me. It's sort of this like bright orange with a little bit of gray accents, whereas that one's gloss white with gray accents. There's a lot of considerations here. And I'm doing my best to cover both of these. The support from the staff's been a little bit limited because I think they predominantly speak like Mandarin and I don't. So there's a little bit of like lost in translation. I got my friend Sam over here who's gonna help us out, and do a little ride test in a minute. I'm gonna also do my best to answer questions that come in on the video, like if you leave a comment or in the forums and back at the written review. I've measured like everything I could, including like number of teeth on the chainring, length, width, height, all of those different factors. And I do want to point out that it's the reach here is, I think it's like 24 inches or something. It's a little bit longer. Okay, so this bike kind of feels full size if you're someone who's a larger person, and it has this telescoping stem so you can raise the handlebars. 350 millimeters on that seat post length. I think it's 34 millimeters on the diameter, so that's pretty big. Usually I'm used to seeing like 31.6 or 30.9, so there's plenty of room here to put a suspension seat post and then use a shim if you can't find one that's actually 34 millimeters, because that's pretty wide, and I think they did that to make it like stronger, extra sturdy. They've got bosses here for adding a rear rack. I definitely appreciate that. Bosses for maybe adding fenders. And then of course they're using that for the headlight, but you can see the support arms could connect there. I don't know where you would get those fenders or what they'll be selling or not, because again, the communication's been a little bit limited. They told me that it would have an 18-month warranty and that they would support parts and maybe just send you a part if something broke. And that the motor and the battery have like a 2-year warranty. That seems pretty generous to me, and it's really hard to say. So I'm doing my best here. I'm communicating what they've communicated to me. But as with any new company, especially in crowdfunding, it's kind of like proceed with caution. Saunders is a crowdfunding campaign that comes to mind years ago that did really well, and they delivered on pretty much on time. I don't know if the support was really that great, but I don't think they said it would be. They didn't really advertise that it would be higher. So the fact that this is a new company and everything gives me pause, but on the other hand, they're associated with AddMotor, which has been around for a little bit longer, so that gives me kind of some reassurance. So again, I'm doing my best here to give you guys all the info. Given the higher capacity of the battery, it's nice that this comes with a 3-amp charger. It's a little bit faster than normal. A lot of times chargers are just 2 amps, so that means you're gonna get out there and be able to ride a little bit quicker. Sam, would you come over and help me do the folding exercise here? So we're just gonna take this out for a second, and then there's like a lock here on this one, and you open it up like that. There's a lock on this one. So both of them, it's nice that they both have, thanks buddy, here we go. There we go. So it folds down. See, there aren't any parts that are coming off, like it's not like you're gonna lose a wing nut or something. Here's a little pass through to the battery, by the way. That's where you charge it. It's the same charging interface, whether it's on or off the bike. I like that you can charge it in both locations. Right now it's green when you press that, so it says RGB. Uh-oh, we lost our little rubber cap. So we might want to push this back in here. I like this this cover, and I like where the charging port is located, right? Because a lot of times I'll see e-bikes where the charging port is down here, and then it's right in the way of that crank arm and stuff, and we've already got enough going on. By the way, that's a support stand for when the bike is folded, so you don't bang up the chain ring and stuff. And there's another look at that 12 magnet cadence sensor. That's pretty high resolution, but it's not one of the sealed ones. It's a little bit more external, so sand and gunk could get on there, or it could get bent out of place. It's not super vulnerable because it's protected by the chain ring, but I'm just telling you what I've seen from some other bikes. Okay, so can you go ahead and try to fold the bike in half, Sam? Yeah, there you go. A lot of times, yeah, you kind of put your knee in. You're doing great. Thank you. There we go, and we can set it down. I'm gonna go ahead and kick this kickstand up, and then perfect. Look at that, awesome. And then of course the seat could come down as well. So there we go. That's what it would look like, completely folded up, fairly stable, maybe walkable. Like if you pull it back like this and then walk forward on the wheels. I like that the disc brakes are on the inside. They're not gonna get bent up, but just keep an eye on that derailleur. And again, you might have a derailleur guard. That other bike does. So that's kind of what's going on in my mind. I do happen to have the key in my pocket right here, and you do need that to get the battery out. So I'll just insert it, twist it, and then there's like a little ledge right here. Yeah, so you can pull on it like that and take the battery out, reduce the overall weight of the bike by about 7 pounds. And again, this is a 60-pound folding bike, so it's a little bit on the heavy side, especially since it only has a headlight. There's no rear light. That's what the battery looks like. It's got this like slot on the bottom, and there we go. 48 volts, 14 amp hours. I think that's about it. I've gone over this as thoroughly as I could. We're gonna fold this back up and then take a little ride around here and just let you see that motor and hear it, because it's pretty zippy. Okay guys, we're getting ready to do the ride test, and I wanted to show you how this display works. This is a King Meter SWLCD. It may be branded MAXFOOT in the final version. Again, it does have that full-size USB port down there, which is nice, but I'm guessing that it only puts out like 5 volts, 500 milliamps, because I plugged my iPhone into it and it didn't work, and I think iPhone requires like a full watt of power output. So there you go, might work with Android. Hold the M button down here for a couple seconds, comes to life. We've got 5 ticks on that battery bar infographic, odometer right here on the right, but if we press the M button again, it cycles to trip meter, so trip, odometer. It's kind of cool. Speed, it's in miles per hour right now, but I'll show you how to change that in a second. Mode Eco, which is pedal assist level 1. If we go down to 0, see, nothing shows up. So we'll go to 1, Eco 2, Eco 3 standard, 4 power, 5 speed. So that's a little bit more power, potentially higher top speed, but you're going to use the battery a bit faster. And then we have watts right here. So that's how many watts the motor is using. Since I'm just showing you the bike, I'm actually going to deactivate the throttle. That way we don't accidentally bump it and take off. And I would always recommend turning off the throttle and turning off the bike before you fold it, just for safety, so you don't actually get that wheel spinning out of control. And then a minute ago I said speed up here, but we can actually change that by holding the up arrow to average speed or max speed, right? So that's kind of cool. It's got a few different menus buried in there. And then to turn on backlighting and the headlight, we hold up and M together, and then we can see there's a little light icon and that Spinninga headlight. Whoa, there it is. And back here to the display, I think if we hold down, we'll get walk mode. Let's try that. Oh boy, there we go. And it's a zippy walk mode, coming back to the motor that they've spec'd here. It's pretty high power. And then if we hold up and down together, we'll get into the menu. So 24 inches is what they've got for the tires. Even though these are 20-inch diameter wheels, with the 4-inch tire on top of it, 24 is probably pretty accurate. So I'll click M and it goes to the next thing. 32 kilometers per hour is the speed limit, but we could take that down. So if you're someone who's like maybe a little bit concerned about the power or top speed, we could take that down a little bit. There we go, take it back up to 32 kilometers per hour. By the same token, you could probably make this go faster than 20 miles per hour. Not really sure. I haven't experimented with that too much. Speed 3 miles per hour. This is where you'd switch to kilometers per hour. I'm going to leave it miles per hour. And then we're back to the wheel size. So then I think I just hold M for a second and it exits. There we go. That is the menu. That's the control panel. I think I'm going to hop on this. Are you ready to go for a ride, Sam? Go for a ride? Okay, so I'm going to get myself on the saddle in the pedal position. I'm going to activate that throttle. I don't think the throttle is active in 0. No, it's not. Okay, cool. But it is once you go up to level 1. And this is a really smooth way to start. So I'm just going to gently, okay, nice and easy, right? That was me juicing it a little bit. But you know, I'm in pedal assist level 1. So this time I'm going to go back and I'm just going to pedal. Okay. And I think hopefully you'll get my point about how quickly it engages. There we go. So you can see that it really picks up steam pretty quickly, even in assist level 1. So I feel like maybe in the future they could get the controller just to smooth out a little bit so it's not quite so zippy. This time I'm going to do it in assist level 5 and we're going to see what this thing can really do. Quite a bit of delay between the time that I stopped pedaling and when the motor cut out, and I think that's just because I'm in a higher gear right now and it's using a 12 magnet cadence sensor versus like a torque or multi-sensor. So if I shift down to a lower gear, I think it would respond a little bit more quickly when starting, but it still seems like there's some delay when it cuts out. Let's try that. I'm gonna shift some gears, just take it down to like, there we go, okay. Yeah, it seems like it's responding a little bit more quickly. I appreciate that. And then these big tires are actually pretty comfortable considering that this is pretty choppy terrain here that we're working with in the parking lot. How are you feeling, Sam?
Feels very comfortable and very convenient.
Is this the first time that you've ridden these? I guess he hasn't done it for a little while. He's just a friend of the founders, friend of the company here. So some of the other folks that were in the office were like, I don't know if I want to be on camera. And he's like, I'll do it, which is pretty sweet. So I appreciate that. Oh, yeah. Okay, guys, from here you can see that, I believe it's a 48 tooth chain ring right here. I do have those specs back at the website. We've got the mounting point for that center stand. I like the look of this bike, just the thicker tubing and everything. It matches really well, but that joint right here, just a little bit forward, when you're pedaling sometimes, it is possible to bump your knees on this. So be careful, like getting on and off. This is what I would consider a mid-step frame. It's a little bit higher than a step through, but not quite as high as a high step. I guess I'm saying that because I went for a ride on the beach with a friend all those years ago in Cabo, and she did bump her knees and got a little bit bruised up, so be careful. Got that alloy chain guide, which is really nice. Not only does it protect the teeth, but it also protects your pants and keeps the chain on track. And then the 14 to 28 tooth cassette in the rear. That's probably fine for up to 20 mile per hour riding. It's not like the world's greatest derailleur cassette, but it's also not the very lowest. That would be Shimano tourney. So it seems like things are working well. Be careful with that wire, that motor cable, and just keep an eye on those bolts and stuff because it doesn't have that torque arm. But so far, everything's working just fine for us. And I think if I pull this up, there are some stickers that I can see. It says 48 volt, 20, SOF, 191, X001. So here we go. I'm at pedal assist level 5. Pretty intense. This thing has a lot of power. I feel like it wouldn't have any problem climbing hills because of that smaller wheel diameter and just, 750 watts nominal up to probably more than 900. So this time I'm going to do it with the throttle and it'll be a little bit smoother. You probably noticed, like, I did stop pedaling before and the motor kept surging. It's just, there's a little bit of a delay there. Pull those brakes if you feel out of control and it'll cut power to the motor. So here we go, throttle time. Awesome. I did gun it back there to see if it would spin out, and it didn't. So, that's good. It's not ripping up the trail or anything, but there's still plenty of support for climbing and getting over some roots and stuff. So coming back to those brake levers, being able to cut that motor off instantly is pretty important with a high power motor. I'm definitely appreciating the motor inhibitors. I like the bell if it worked. Does your bell work? Can you ring it? See it on the left there?
On the left?
There it is. That's what I'm talking about, buddy.
Yeah.
Have you been using the throttle mostly or pedal assist?
Both.
A little bit of both?
Little bit of both.
Okay.
Couple of one, and the first time I used this one, I thought I don't have to use this.
Yeah. Being able to use the throttle is pretty fun.
Oh, it actually is hybrid. You can use this, and while you can use this too.
You can override, yeah, I like that.
Yes.
They give you full control on this bike, which is something that's nice. It does make it a little bit vulnerable because if I bump that throttle, it would take off right now, even though I'm not moving. So that's where that safety switch really comes in. Remember when you first got on, you were like, why isn't it working? Because the safety switch wasn't disengaged?
Yes.
Those are all the things that I'd be thinking about, you guys. I can't really comment on like the final price or even the names of the lower spec versions, but hopefully we'll get more info on that soon. I welcome you to chime in with your comments and your experiences. MAXFOOT's a new brand for me. It sounds like the US and Canada, free shipping in the contiguous US. They might charge shipping if you're in Canada. For the full written review, I'll see you back at electricbikereview.com. Have fun out there. Love you guys. Ride safe.